Allô, Nissan? Hey, grosse tempête, hein?
Hey, Karine, oui, je sais, les vilains bonhommes de neige sont de retour.
Mais avec le Nissan Rogue à traction intégrale, c'est pas stressant.
Exact, il est conçu et testé pour nos hivers. Oh, Karine, il y a un bonhomme dans le Rogue.
Ah, c'est correct. J'ai allumé les sièges chauffants.
Ah, bien joué, Karine. Maîtrisez toutes les conditions. Louez le Rogue S 2026 à partir de 0,4% jusqu'à 36 mois, incluant une réduction fidélité de 0,5% pour les clients Nissan admissibles. Jusqu'au 2 mars, sur approbation de crédit, les conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
Dave Kaufman in for Elias. Follow me on Twitter at The Kaufman Show. And we end this week by talking about the most impactful piece of journalism that I read this week. And we'll bring in the author of said piece, Christopher Curtis from the Montreal Gazette. Chris, good morning.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it, Dave.
Thanks for joining, man. I appreciate all that you do and what you bring to the Montreal Gazette. You wrote a piece on Wednesday after attending the funeral for two Inuk women who were killed in the last month. We see that homelessness is a problem. We have been, in some ways, very lucky that COVID-19 has not run roughshod over the homeless community. But let's not kid ourselves. The fact that shelters are closed, the fact that there are less places to congregate safely is leading to more danger and more fatalities in the homeless community, right?
Well, I mean, it's certainly it's a factor. And, the effect of COVID beyond, obviously, the people who die from it, which, that's terrible. The effect of COVID is that it's pushing more and more people into situations of extreme poverty. You know, people who work in the service industry, people who work in industries that have had to shut down or slow down because of the virus, are having to, for the first time in their lives, resort to food banks. And, I mean, there's no shame in that. But what's happening is an increasing amount of pressure is being put on these charitable organizations, and an increasing amount of people are either at risk of being homeless or homeless.
Chris, can you tell me a little bit about Lukasi Kakinurk?
Yeah, so Lukasi, so Lukasi, his sister Kitty died last week, and Lukasi and his sister are very close. They come from Kwaknak, which is a village on the Ungava Bay. They both came down to Montreal a couple decades ago, I think, and they were both living on the streets. And I met Kitty a couple years back, or about a year and a half ago, when Lukasi went missing. And it wasn't like Lukasi to go missing. He wasn't the kind of guy who would disappear without saying anything. So Kitty that winter, was relentless in looking for her brother, and she, I remember running around the city, with a photo of him asking street workers, cops, friends, strangers if they'd seen her brother. And in the end, they found Lukasi. He was okay. But it spoke to me about the kind of person Kitty was. And when I realized that it was Kitty that had died, it hurt a lot, because this person who was in a really terrible situation had a lot of life in her, and she was a really affectionate, really kind person. And as that anecdote hopefully demonstrates, like, she was a dedicated sibling and a really important member of the Inuit community. So the Inuit community. So it just hurt. It really hurt to find out that she had died. Dinah died as well. Both were hit by cars. It's the kind of thing where you go to these memorials, and I've been to a few, and one is too many, but the sheer amount of Inuit who die on the streets in Montreal is just, it's unacceptable. And if there are probably about 1,000 to 1,500 Inuit in Montreal at a given time. And in the time I've been covering, I guess, the issue of homelessness for the Gazette, you probably lose about 10 on the streets every year. That's like 1% of their population here. That's a big deal. That's huge. And it never stops breaking your heart.
We're with Christopher Curtis from the Montreal Gazette as we're wrapping up for the week here on the Elias Macko Show on CJ 8800. Dave Kaufman in for Elias. And I think about, there's a quote in your piece that stuck with me from Nakuset, who has done yeoman's work in keeping Cabot Square safe and as a place to congregate for the homeless. She's been co-running Resilience Montreal, and of course, she's the executive director of the Native Women's Shelter as well. And I mean, she puts it very well. Their lives mattered, she says, and she says that both of these women died after the shelters were closed. This could have been prevented. Tito, I'm sorry to say we've only got a minute left, but that hits it, right?
It does. I mean, that's the thing, right? We're in a moment in the history of this continent where we have to reflect about, whose lives matter. How do we react when people die? And too often we just kind of shrug our shoulders or maybe don't even notice when Inuit or people of color or people who are minorities die, people who maybe feel forgotten. And the one thing that kind of encourages me in all of this is that people hear about it and they want to do something. They want to volunteer, they want to get involved, they want to donate money, and if you're listening and if you can spare a few bucks, Resilience Montreal is a really good charity. Native Women's Shelter of Montreal is a really good charity. Or if you can spare a few hours a week to volunteer at either of these places, or if you can maybe make a meal large enough to feed 40, 50 people every few weeks, these little actions make a huge impact in the lives of people who are suffering.
Chris, thank you. And because of people like Nakuset and you, the downtrodden in the city have a voice and will never be forgotten.